With Jesus' joy in the house, let's give the Lord a round of applause.
I consider myself very, very privileged. There are only two places I go to and I consider as my home as a preacher. And the first is, my school fellowship in the university, and anytime I'm privileged to be with them, it's home for me. The second place is here. And I am always thrilled, I'm always blessed, I'm always humbled when I see devotion, commitment to the Lord, to the undiluted words of God. And it's on his life and teaching on love. His life and teaching on love. And I've been given some time, but I'll break my time into three. I'll use the first third to just share with you a few things about who Jesus is when we look at him from the love lens. Okay, so I'll just make a few remarks, and most of what I'm about to say are things you already know. Okay, the life of Jesus was love personified. The kind of love he exhibited has been unseen. He never did anything for himself. There's no record that Jesus did anything for himself. He was always doing things for others. I remember we were preaching somewhere, and I made that statement, and a brother challenged me in the audience. He said, no, but he did a miracle to pay his own tax. And I said, well, you have a point, but it wasn't really his own tax. It was to save the brethren from embarrassment. There's no record of Jesus performing a miracle purely for his own comfort or gain. Always for others. Always for others. It was like a drink offering that you pour out to the ground. He just emptied his life and gave it away. His life was marked by, self-giving, giving of himself and sacrifice. Never would you find Jesus complaining. Say, Shefe Pamini, do you want to kill me? You'll never see Jesus say, am I the only one? No. Jesus was not self-serving. If Jesus were to preach, he would not be thinking of himself. He won't be worried about his clothes. He would not be, he's like, we all know that when he was very hungry, if you're hungry after 40 days and you have the ability to turn, God himself was like, what does the Father want? He never jumped ahead of the Father. He never presumed that, and he's God. Jesus is God. Jesus is the second person of the Trinity. But he decided, going from house to house, where's the firstborn? Bam. Where's the firstborn? Bam. One angel, one night. He had access to 2,000. He did not do it. He didn't do it. Jesus was not simple. He was approachable. Jesus had no protocol, as popular as he was. Had no protocol. He didn't need crowd management. Even when people were rushing at him like children and said, no, let the children go. He needs to sleep. He needs to say, who told you that I don't want children? In fact, children, yeah, come. And he started blessing. In fact, if you read the scriptures, he laid hands on every single child. Look at it. Jesus laid hand on me as a child. I will never forget that for the rest of my life. He lived without possessions. He didn't make his life about money, about buildings, about property, about cars or whatever. I mean, look at how he even entered Jerusalem. In the Old Testament, kings used to ride on chariots. Remember Jehu? Jehu rode on chariots. When Jesus would go into Jerusalem, he said, "Che donkey learning." He brought donkey. And not even a good donkey, it was a baby donkey. In fulfillment of prophecy. How does a grown man sit on a baby donkey? Of course, you can't spread your leg. You have to sit like a lady. So it will be carried jelenkelized. Jesus was jelenkelized going into Jerusalem. The animal was fragile. Jesus did not overwhelm him with his own needs for comfort. He was often tired. It's still a mystery. Forgive me, how can God be tired? I can't understand that. So when I hear someone say, "I can never be tired," you don't know anything. You don't know. Jesus was tired many times, dependent on others' hospitality. On the last day when he was going to leave the earth, in other words, he developed relationships with people. He wasn't self-sufficient, even though he's a self-sufficient God. And most of his miracles, and I challenge you to look for one miracle Jesus did on himself. He saw a funeral procession and he saw a widow weeping over his only son. And he just went to stop it. There were lots of everyday lunch a funeral. But he just chose that moment to minister the love of God to a grieving mother. And he stopped and he said, "Boy, please stand up." It was always about others. Always about others. No, le para me. You can't hear it in Jesus' mouth. I can't kill myself. You can't hear it in Jesus' mouth. In fact, he wanted to be killed, really. Yes. Only that you can't kill him before his time. And he's the only human being that was born to die, if you don't know. He's the only human being. All human beings are born to live. Jesus was born to die. And he did all of that, choosing humility, choosing consideration over his rightful privileges. If it was not for me, you would never have gone to school. You will not hear it from the mouth of Jesus. God knows what Mama Landlord would have done to you. If not for me, you will never hear it in the mouth of Jesus. He associated with the weak, with the vulnerable. As a preacher, you want to associate with the high and mighty. You want to take photographs with the bishops, with the GOs. That's not Jesus. Jesus' core association were with the vulnerable. Remember, he touched a leper. Leprosy is a contagious disease. It's an advanced form. Ebola, I'm told, is in the family of leprosy. It's a very contagious disease. If you touch the person, you will catch it. So he could heal this leper, and he did. But the love part wasn't just the healing. The love side of Jesus was that he touched that man. That man had not been touched in years. And I think, was it him or somebody else said, "Master, if you will, make me clean." It's like, what are you talking about? That if I will, of course I will. Be clean, be healed. If you are going to pray for somebody with Ebola, I'm sure you won't lay your hands, of course. You're going to pray at a distance. Because you and Jesus, you are far. You are far from his heart. You are always considering yourself, they will infect me. He crossed social and cultural barriers to restore people. He welcomed children. He welcomed tax collectors. He welcomed prostitutes. He welcomed sinners with open arms. And those are not things that moralists would love to do. Legalists won't do that. In fact, they despise Jesus for being welcoming of sinners. He just enjoyed it. He enjoyed moving with the despised. That's Jesus. Hardly would you find him associating with kings and nobles and princes, which is the networking you need to develop your ministry. Because you don't know the ministry of Jesus. And Jesus didn't do any photo shoots. You may say, there were no photographers in his day. Please understand what I'm trying to say. Let's export ourselves back. In the sense that we do, Jesus wouldn't do that. Okay? Because we, as preachers, as people, as brethren, we are hugely focused on self-promotion. Go to your Facebook page, your Instagram page. It's about you. The whole, whether, even though really it's to your own personal glory. You don't find Jesus staging moments. He didn't curate, he was not a craftsman. He was not into stage crafts. Jesus will not line up the sick to show his power. He won't do that. He won't do that. He doesn't project power. He doesn't project popularity. He never performed miracles to impress. He never staged, acts to get applause. He never sought to build a brand image. Most of us, especially those of us who are preachers, we set ourselves up as brands.